Patrick Carey. He definitely wasn't a stranger. He was 19 years old, and he had also gone to MacArthur High. His dad, like Kayla's, was a cop. He lived 3 blocks away from Kat, just over the back fence from their old elementary school in Levittown. She went back to the police.
They came to me with a photo of Patrick Carey in the bedroom.
In August, Kat and her mum printed out the screenshots of the images on TikTok and on the website, and they brought them to the lead detective on the case, Timothy Ingram.
These girls, they did their own investigating, and they did excellent work. They would make great detectives, but...
When I recently sat down with Detective Tim Ingram, he told me that from the first day the woman came in, the police were proactive.
A lot of my coworkers hadn't really seen anything like this, where it was to this level of, you know, him posting everywhere for so long with so many victims.
He said they immediately filed subpoenas for information connected to users of the website. But getting an answer takes time, and Ingram said he didn't want to talk to Patrick until he had enough evidence to arrest him. The police did eventually find out that one of the users on the website was posting from an IP address that traced back to Patrick's family home. But even that wasn't enough to arrest Patrick. And the police still had to figure out what exactly to charge him with. Because while New York State had laws on the books for revenge porn and child sexual abuse material, the images had to be real. And in this case, they were fake.
Being that it was a very new type of crime where it was a gray area, per se, where we weren't even sure if this met the criteria.
You've arrived near the pickup point.
We attempted to speak to Patrick Carey for this story, and he declined. But while the police may have been closer to making an arrest, for the young woman of Levittown, the fear didn't just go away. Kat was glad that she'd helped match Patrick Carey with the postings, but she was still terrified. And Cecilia was struggling to cope with the fact that the person who had done this to her was someone she had considered a friend.
It kind of touches a part of your soul, and just breaks it in half. Because you watched me kind of grow up, you know? You spent most of my teenage years with me. So you're telling me that all of that time that you spent with me, watching me kind of become the person that I am, was enjoyment to you because you were watching me turn into rape meat. It kind of feels like he hollowed me out of anything that made me who I am. And that is one of the most horrifying things I think I've ever experienced. I don't mind that he didn't respect me, you know, or see me as a friend. I mind that he didn't even see me as a person, you know?
And that sense of horror, it wasn't limited to Cecilia and Kayla and the other women in Levittown. Because powered by this one website, that sort of harassment is hugely scalable. As Detective Ingram started looking into the site, he saw that the more than 40 women in Levittown and their alleged tormentor were just a small part of a much bigger ecosystem of men exploiting women in an interactive global arena.
Some were in Scotland, some were in Russia, they were everywhere.
Hundreds, maybe thousands of women and girls all around the world were on the site. Olivia and I started to get interested in what, or who, was behind this global clearinghouse of non-consensual pornographic images. Turns out, we weren't the only ones. next time on Levittown.
You have certain police officers that will wait for calls to come in and then they'll go and respond to those calls. I like to identify myself as a hunter. I'm the person that will go and hunt people. If you're given prey, you want to go and get it.
This series is reported and hosted by Margie Murphy and me, Olivia Carville. Produced by Kaleidoscope. Led by Julia Nutter. Edited by Neda Tului Simnani. Producing by Dara Look Potts. Executive produced by Kate Osborne. Original composition and mixing by Steve Bone. Our Bloomberg editors are Caitlin Kenny and Jeff Groko. Additional reporting by Samantha Stewart. Sage Bauman is Bloomberg's executive producer and head of podcasting. Kristen Powers is our senior executive editor. From iHeart, our executive producers are Tyler Klang and Nikki Etor. Levittown is a production of Bloomberg, Kaleidoscope, and iHeart Podcasts. If you liked this show, give us a follow and tell your friends.
In a world of economic uncertainty and workplace transformation, learn to lead by example from visionary C-suite executives like Shannon Schuyler of PwC and Will Pearson of iHeartMedia.
The good teacher explains, the great teacher inspires.
Don't always leave your team to do the work. That's been the most important part of how to lead by example.
Listen to Leading by Example, Executives Making an Impact on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
How could a beautiful young first grade teacher be stabbed 20 times, including in the back, allegedly die of suicide? Yes, that was the medical examiner's official ruling. After a closed-door meeting, he first named it a homicide. Why? What happened to Ellen Greenberg? A huge American miscarriage of justice. For an in-depth look at the facts, see What Happened to Ellen on Amazon. All proceeds to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children.
61.